Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Jeremy. Today we're going to be covering all things Earth in Remnant from the Ashes. One of the first things I want to cover is obviously this game is procedurally generated. You are not guaranteed to have the exact same experience as me. In fact, more than likely, you're not going to. For that exact reason, I'm going to be covering pretty much just dungeons and bosses and how to get through them. Anytime you come across any sort of yellow glowing portal and or door, that'll be your way into a dungeon. At the beginning of every single dungeon, you'll have a checkpoint you can rest at, gather your wits, get your ammo, get your health back, and all of your dragon stones. If you happen to get Marrow Pass like I did, this is one of the better dungeons and one you should hope to get in your first playthrough. All of the underground dungeons will be filled with those little monstrosities there. They'll also be filled with plenty of loot. Make sure to keep an eye out for all of the brown openable boxes. Make sure to kill the fat boys as far away as possible. You don't want to be caught up in the smoke and get rot damage. Now in this dungeon specifically, there will be multiple trees here. All of them you will want to destroy in order to complete the quest inside of the dungeon. Pretty simple concept here, guys. Just shoot the tree. Afterwards, it'll spawn waves of ads. Now, the enemies aren't difficult to kill, but they are definitely numerous. Make sure you take care of them as quickly as possible, covering your back. One thing that I found definitely helps is having the regen mod on one of your weapons so you can get some health back in a pinch. After you fully reduce the health of the tree, it will explode, annihilating all of the minions that are still spawned around you. So if you're getting overwhelmed, just focus on the tree, get it out of the way. Now, as I said, there's going to be multiples of these. I don't know if it's guaranteed to be only 2 or only 3, but you'll handle this one just the same way. No extra tricks here. You'll get your quest done right there, and then you'll want to head back through the dungeon. Eventually, you'll come across this crazed dude. I guess he was worshipping the trees and did not want you to destroy them. He's easy to dispatch. Just keep him at a distance. Easy peasy. Afterwards, you'll get Braided Thorns, which is probably one of the best rings in the game. The world is pretty unforgiving in Remnant. Make sure to take time throughout your travels to practice dodging all of the enemy attacks and getting used to their patterns. Once you make your way a little farther through Earth, you will definitely come across more dungeons. This one right here, Sunken Passage, is pretty similar to the one we just did. You want to take care of all the small enemies as you make your way through. There will also be bloaters in here. Once again, make sure you're looking out for these boxes to get your scraps so you can get some upgrades before any of the bosses you'll encounter. Inevitably, you'll come across a mini checkpoint right before the boss of this area. Make sure to always buff yourself either with a pre-heal from Bloodwort, or if you know what you're going up against, use something that will help against the element that the boss uses. Gorefist is definitely one of the harder bosses in the beginning of the game. He's extremely aggressive, his melee attacks can cause bleed damage to you, and he's pretty hard to dodge if you don't know what you're doing. Although I probably should have taken my own advice there, make sure you dodge towards him and not away. The range of his cleave is pretty significant, and it will catch you if you dodge roll backwards. Be just as aggressive as him, and you'll take him down in no time though. The harder part of his boss fight might honestly be the ads that spawn. Just take care of them very quickly and stay out of the rot smoke. The Flesh Barb could be used to be turned in for the Mantle of Thorns mod, which is also pretty useful this early in the game. Now, every playthrough I've had so far has had the Wicked Tree. There's 2 options here. You could either wear the mask that you would find from an NPC and talk to the tree, or you could shoot it, starting a wave of enemies. The tree has a lot of health, but is easy to take care of. As it doesn't spawn too many enemies, make sure to use your Hot Shot mod to do some dot damage as you're taking care of the other enemies. Inevitably, though, you'll take care of it pretty easily. You'll be rewarded with the Twisted Idol, which increases the effectiveness of your armor, or if you talk to it, you'll get the trait that does exactly the same thing. Keep making your way through Earth until you come across a train station. There's plenty of breakables in the beginning here. Be sure not to miss them before you head down and continue your adventure. At this point, I'd like to point out that if you're still struggling at this point in the game, I would reference my last video where I show you how to get to the Drifter armor set as well as do the entire Ward 13 key puzzle. It will net you quite a few traits, and I also told you a few tips and tricks to do some extra damage as well as upgrade your gear a little faster. Continue on through the subway, making sure to check above you at all times, for the enemies will always try to drop down on you. This is not specific as to whether or not they are in front of you either, so sometimes they will drop behind you, definitely creating some sticky situations that you don't want to be in. Continue on until you get to this fog wall and the checkpoint beforehand, and you'll get the prompt to talk to the Root Mother. Don't be alarmed though, no boss fight here, but you will have to protect her from waves of enemies. They are pretty easy to take care of, nothing new from what you've already seen. Stay on your toes though, as there will be plenty of them, and as you go through, they will start spawning elites as well that will take shots at her. It might not seem like a lot of damage, but these keep hitting her. They will take her down relatively quickly. After doing your due justice and protecting the Root Mother, she will also let out an explosion, killing all of the ads. So pay attention to the timer, as that can be your best friend in this situation. After exhausting her dialogue, make sure you check around the church though. There's plenty of items that are super easy to miss if you just decide to wander around instead of heading downstairs, where you could find the sniper rifle, as well as a loot box and some other small items. Now once you leave the cathedral, you'll head to what I like to call Earth 2, or the second zone on Earth. This zone is explorable, but I would definitely recommend heading back and turning in the lucky coin if you have it already to Ace and get the Magnum Revolver. This item will help you tremendously in this area, as now the enemies have weapons and will shoot you from a range. Here's an example of me not taking my own advice, not getting the Magnum Revolver, and not putting on the sniper rifle. And as you can see, they made quick work of me because I did not stay at a range. Taking everything into consideration though, staying at a range, getting your headshots with the two weapons, it will make this area extremely easy and you'll fly through it. Now this is a random chance, but you might encounter Mudtooth in your adventures in Earth 2. He's one hell of an NPC, he'll talk your ear off, but he has some really important items. After you exhaust his dialogue and check out what he has to sell you, you will see hour-long buff potions pretty much. He has the tonic and the stew. The tonic and the stew both increase either max health or stamina for 1 hour. This is incredibly useful, both early on and later in the game. Now there is another dungeon in this area that will take you to the Mangler boss fight. I didn't have the footage on the dungeon beforehand, but I'll go over the boss fight for you guys. Now the Mangler is relatively easy, but it's super easy to also get overwhelmed by all the ads that are in the area. Once again, make sure you're on the lookout for all the small guys trying to rush you down. One of the best things I've found for this boss is to have the hotshot mod on the SMG, as he will burrow underground, making it impossible to fight him for periods of time. Right here, as you can see, you can use the mines in the area and bait him into rolling into them and get him stunned so you can do some decent damage. I actually had not known about this before this fight with him, so this is new information for me as well. Take your time, keep your distance, and eventually you'll get him down no problem. Make your way back through Earth 2, unlocking the shortcut that you now had access to, eventually either coming across the Ent or Singe. Now the Ent is relatively easy if you know how he's going to attack you. He uses waves by either stomping or slamming. It's very easy to get caught up in the foot stomp, as it kind of sends out multiple waves. Now in this instance I alternate killed the Ent just to show you guys how to do that. All you do is keep attacking his legs until they break and he starts crawling. Once he's crawling, he'll try to hit you with a barrage of swipe attacks. Pretty easy to avoid though. After staying consistent and getting your damage in, he'll melt, no problem. Now with the alternate kill, you will be given the Twisted Heart. Twisted Heart can be turned in for the Petrified Maul, which is easily the best early game melee weapon, as it does knockback damage as well as rot damage. And let's be a little honest, it just looks cool. Continuing from where you just fought your last boss, you will eventually come across the Labyrinth. Now, the labyrinth is kind of like a place in between places where you could transfer from world to world. After exhausting the dialogue of the Keeper and continuing forward, you'll find yourself at the checkpoint in the labyrinth, which you can teleport to and from, which is super useful. After resting up and heading forward again, straight forward, don't go left or right, there's nothing you can do there yet. You can find some lore down in the path underneath you right here if you would like. You'll come across this door. Heading through it will take you to Rom.
You are not here.
Now I'm going to cut it here, guys, because I'm going to bring you Rom in a nutshell as well. After exhausting the dialogue with the lady right there, head to your checkpoint where you can save up. Now that you've wrapped up your adventures on Earth, tell me how your adventure went. Let me know what you encountered in yours. Thanks again for hanging out with me, guys. I appreciate it so much. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you like the content.